Hey everybody, how you doing? I want to talk about Jameis Winston, the Cleveland Browns. Yep, that's right. The Jameis Winston, this man right here, I'm putting a small screen for a little bit, who is donning the number 5, his number from his championship years at Florida State, and has a new outlook with a new team. We've talked about the offense playing directed by offensive coordinator Ken Dorsey, formerly of the Buffalo Bills, and the greatest Miami offense in history. But for all of that, it was silenced by the media, the mainstream media, the media that likes to push race, the media that likes to divide people, the media that is being eaten away at little by little by social media, by organizations like this. Media is afraid, patently afraid to tell the story of how is patently afraid to tell the story of how much Jameis Winston really is ahead of even Deshaun Watson. And there's nothing against Deshaun Watson here. No hate whatsoever for Deshaun Watson, the great quarterback, once of the Houston Texans, and of course, Clemson, another champion. But the bottom line is that Jameis Winston had arguably one of his best days as a preseason pro, his best preseason game. It doesn't match the fireworks of the game he played. He quarterbacked the Saints years and threw for 2 touchdowns, 120 yards, and excited everyone. But he did go 4 for 5. No drama. In other words, no fumbles, no interceptions, just efficiency. And that's what you're looking for from Jameis Winston. That's what you're looking for from any quarterback. That's better than what you got from, for example, a rookie like Drake May, which is getting this really irrational, totally wild set of statements that are at the hyperbolic level made about his play, when it's quite obvious. And thank you, Bucky Brooks, for pointing this out, a rookie. And to anyone who really looks at Drake May's performance with those glasses, is playing just like that. Now let's talk about Jameis Winston. Jameis Winston was not only 4 or 5 at that game, 30 yards. He led the Browns to a field goal. And then the man he had been acting as a kind of mentor to, his backup, the quarterback that is a 3rd string, 4th string, whatever it is, managed to get off some really kind words about him. Jameis Winston, on top of all that, though, was noted for the pregame speech heard round the world. That's right, round the world. And everyone says that they want Jameis Winston in their locker room. Every NFL player wants Jameis Winston in their locker room. And there he is right there, getting off the speech, talking about it. And let's give a little bit of a listen. I got one thing for y'all, man. You see? That's all you have to hear. Just that. That's all you have to hear to know that, and understand why people like quarterback Dorian Thompson-Robinson swear by Jameis Winston. Jameis Winston is leading the Packers. Okay? Jameis Winston is a born leader, and the media should tell that story. Of course, they're not going to, but which is why somebody needs to hire Zinni 62 Media volume. But the fact of the matter is, none of that's going to change who Jameis Winston is. Jameis Winston is a elite NFL quarterback, someone that you want to see how he's doing, someone you want to meet, somebody who you want to succeed, or see succeed rather. And that's the greatest story about his coming over to the Cleveland Browns. Outstanding, outstanding, and outstanding. And have you noticed, by the way? Oh, by the way, Smooth 101 says, I hate that I have to root for Deshaun's downfall to see Jameis actualize his full potential. I don't know that it's a matter of Deshaun's downfall, because look, Deshaun Watson is an excellent quarterback in his own right. Let's not get that twisted. Let's not forget that, okay? But there's a reason the Cleveland Browns brought Jameis Winston to be his backup. They didn't really expect that Jameis was going to sit as his backup. They really do expect Jameis to start. This is my read. I'm not going off any inside information. Just read the tea leaves and see the situation. Deshaun Watson has been injured, and he was just cleared to play. In other words, to take contact, but he's not even going to play against the Vikings. So guess what? The reins are turned over to Jameis Winston yet again. So with all those concerns, what say you if Deshaun Watson indeed gets injured again during the season? That could happen. I mean, again, this goes to what our viewer here is saying, Smooth right here. All right. And but we have a counter in Mr. Ross who writes, Watson will be all right. He has $230 million all guaranteed. That's what I was about to say, Alan. I was actually about to say that, but the reason I didn't was players take offense to the idea that they're just playing it for the money. Oh, sure, they want what they're due, but that's not the only reason they're playing. They're playing for the love of the game, but they don't want to see their love of the game exploited. And that was certainly Deshaun Watson's point. Deshaun Watson, what he got was a gift from God. Why? Because of the way the Houston Texans treated him, what they did. Let's talk about this for a second. Upset Deshaun Watson was that they being the Houston Texans brass at the time, and rest in peace, Bob McNair, were not consulting him regarding who their next coach would be. He wanted a black coach. He threatened to leave. He wanted to be traded. They had just given him a $127 million contract. All right. And with a hefty signing bonus on top of that. So instead of saying, hey, Deshaun, come on in, we definitely want your input because these are your working conditions. We need to be aware of that. Instead of treating him that way, what did they do? They manufactured a story about him with massage therapists. They hired the great class action lawyer, Tony Busby, to fashion a lie. And Tony knows that's what he did. He's good at making it seem like, oh, there's thousands of people against you. Or in his case, Deshaun's case, 30, something like that. Some wild number. But in point of fact, there were really only 4. And of the 4, there were really only 2. And when you drill down to those cases, both look like they were shaking him down for money. That's why this never rose to the place where he was in jail. That's why there was no police report. That's why, well, guess what? This was one of those kangaroo court situations. And who set up the kangaroo court? Tony Busby and the mainstream media. Tony Busby was looking for a civil outcome, all right? But they settled. And the reason they settled is because Tony knew he had no evidence, no concrete evidence whatsoever with which to pin Deshaun Watson for doing anything wrong. He knew that. He knew that. So all of this was manufactured by the Houston Texans. They didn't have to do that. So the just reward for Deshaun was a $230 million plus guaranteed contract. That was the just reward for doing what they did, trying to basically make this person look like a typical oversexed black guy on high just because he dared ask for a say in who the coach should be for the Houston Texans. I wish more players would do that. Back to Jameis Winston. Jameis isn't the kind of guy that's trying to get his coach fired. Or I was thinking about Dennis Allen. But Dennis Allen didn't understand the situation with Jameis Winston. So I argue that Dennis Allen shipped Jameis Winston off, really encouraged him to go somewhere else, basically saying to him, hey, look, you're not going to start for my team anymore. Dennis Allen's ego has really damaged the New Orleans Saints. No question about it. Now, did they find a diamond in the rough in Spencer Rattler? Absolutely. Will that diamond in the rough wind up pushing Derek Carr out of the starting role? Yes, absolutely. But that doesn't mean that they're going to wind up with a winning record. And it should mean that Dennis Allen is shown the door next year. Now, getting back to Jameis. Jameis has this 1-year contract. But if he is able to come in and perform serviceably, there's that word again that I hate, but I started using, well, he could wind up being the Cleveland Browns leader for the foreseeable future. Go Jameis. But you would say, hey, what happened with Deshaun Watson? Well, I'm sure Deshaun would either want to be traded, but given his relationship with Jameis Winston, he may just decide to stick around, thinking, I've got the money and I'm happy to have a, dual quarterback situation, a team, a corporation, if you will. Don't be surprised. We'll see you.